What if everything you were ever told about protecting your eyes was a lie? Not just slightly wrong, not just outdated, but a deliberate wartime propaganda story that got repeated so many times across so many decades that it became accepted as nutritional truth. You have been hearing it your whole life. Eat your carrots. Carrots are good for your eyes. And somehow, that single idea managed to anchor itself so deeply into our collective memory that even today, even with everything we know about nutrition and biology, carrots are still the first thing most people think of when they think about eye health. But here is the truth. The carrot myth was invented by the British military during World War II to hide the fact that they had developed radar technology. They did not want the enemy to know how their pilots were detecting planes in the dark, so they invented a story. They told the public their pilots had extraordinary night vision because they ate a lot of carrots. The world believed it, and 80 years later, we are still repeating it.
Now, to be fair, carrots are not bad for you. They contain beta-carotene, which your body converts into vitamin A, and vitamin A does play a role in basic visual function. It keeps your rod cells working in low light conditions. But that is the full extent of what carrots do for your eyes. That single, narrow benefit. Beta-carotene does nothing to protect your macula from degeneration. It does nothing to lower the pressure building inside your eye that causes glaucoma. It does nothing to stop the lens of your eye from turning cloudy and becoming a cataract. It does nothing to repair the microscopic blood vessels in your retina that slowly break down with age. And it does absolutely nothing to rebuild the protective pigment layer in your macula that shields your central vision from the damage caused by blue light. All of those things, the real threats that are silently destroying people's eyesight every single day, require entirely different compounds. Compounds that are not found in carrots at all. They are found in remarkable concentrations in specific seeds. My name is Dr. Thomas Reed, and what I am about to share with you are 5 specific seeds that have been identified by modern science as the most powerful eye protective foods in the entire human diet. Each one targets a different mechanism of damage. Each one works through a well-understood biological pathway that has been studied in peer-reviewed clinical research. And together, they form a comprehensive shield that covers every vulnerable structure in your eye in a way that no vegetable, no supplement, and no eye drop can match on its own. Before I tell you what the seeds are, I need you to understand the 5 specific threats your eyes are facing right now. Because that understanding is what will make everything else click into place. Your retina consumes more oxygen per gram of tissue than any other organ in your body, including your brain. That extreme level of metabolic activity generates an enormous amount of free radicals every single day. Every photon of light that hits a photoreceptor cell triggers a chain reaction that produces these damaging molecules. Over the course of a single day, trillions of these oxidative events accumulate inside your eyes, gradually breaking down the delicate membranes, proteins, and DNA of your retinal cells. That is the first threat, and it never stops. The second threat is blue light damage to the macula, which is the tiny central region of your retina responsible for the sharp, detailed vision you use for reading, driving, and recognizing faces. Blue light carries more energy per photon than any other wavelength of visible light, and it causes a uniquely destructive type of oxidative damage to your cone cells. The macula has a built-in defense against this, a layer of yellow pigment made of 2 compounds called lutein and zeaxanthine. But after the age of 60, that pigment thins faster than your body can replace it, and your central vision becomes increasingly exposed.
The third threat is vascular deterioration. Your retina depends on two entirely separate blood supplies, and the tiny capillaries in both of those systems are among the smallest blood vessels in your entire body. As they age, they develop weak spots, they begin to leak, and in some areas, they close off entirely, quietly starving your retinal tissue of oxygen and nutrients. The fourth threat is intraocular pressure. Your eye constantly produces and drains a fluid that maintains its shape, and when the drainage system slows down, pressure builds up inside the eye.
That pressure presses against your optic nerve, and over time, it destroys the nerve fibers that carry visual information to your brain. This is glaucoma, and it is the leading cause of irreversible blindness in the world. The fifth threat is lens oxidation. The lens of your eye is made of tightly arranged proteins that stay transparent only as long as they remain undamaged. When free radicals attack those proteins, they clump together, and the lens becomes cloudy. That is a cataract. And by the time most people reach 80, more than half of them either have a cataract or have already had surgery to remove one. 5 threats, 5 mechanisms of destruction, and 5 seeds that directly counter each one of them. The first seed is flaxseed. Flax seeds are the foundation of this entire protocol because they target the force that makes every other threat worse. That force is chronic inflammation. Inflammation is not just another problem sitting alongside the other 5 threats. It is the accelerant that pours fuel on all of them. Oxidative damage triggers inflammation. Inflammation generates more oxidative damage. Vascular deterioration is driven by inflammation. Elevated eye pressure is worsened when inflammation swells the drainage structures. And cataract formation is accelerated when inflammatory molecules disrupt the proteins responsible for keeping your lens clear. You cannot address any of these threats effectively while chronic inflammation is raging unchecked in the background. Flax seeds are the richest plant-based source of alpha-linolenic acid, an omega-3 fatty acid that your body converts into the specialized molecules responsible for actually resolving inflammation at the cellular level. These molecules, called resolvins, protectins, and merisins, do not just suppress inflammation. They actively shut it down, clear the debris it leaves behind, and restore the tissue to its original healthy state. This resolution process is especially critical inside the eye because the retina, the lens, and the drainage structures are all enclosed environments where inflammatory debris cannot be swept away by the general circulation. It has to be cleaned up right where it sits. Research published in a leading ophthalmology journal found that omega-3 fatty acids significantly reduced pro-inflammatory compounds in the fluid that bathes the lens and the eye's drainage structures. Lower inflammation in that fluid means less damage to the lens proteins and less swelling in the drainage channels that control eye pressure. But there is another dimension to flax seeds that is just as important. The omega-3 fatty acid called DHA makes up approximately 60% of the fatty acids in the outer segment membranes of your photoreceptor cells. Those membranes need to remain extraordinarily fluid so that your visual pigment can respond to light with the speed your brain requires. When DHA levels drop, those membranes stiffen, your visual pigment slows down, and your ability to see in low light and adapt to changing conditions declines. A landmark study found that higher omega-3 intake was associated with a 38% lower risk of developing age-related macular degeneration. 2 tablespoons of freshly ground flax seeds daily is all it takes. Grind them first because whole seeds pass right through your digestive system without releasing anything useful.
The second seed is sunflower seeds. If flax seeds protect the retina, sunflower seeds protect the lens. And the reason comes down to one nutrient that most people do not get nearly enough of: vitamin E. The lens of your eye has no blood supply at all. It receives its nutrients through slow, passive diffusion from the surrounding fluid, and it depends almost entirely on its own internal antioxidant reserves to neutralize the free radicals generated by constant light exposure. Vitamin E is the primary fat-soluble antioxidant embedded in the cell membranes of the lens. It works by intercepting destructive free radical chain reactions before they can reach the crystalline proteins, the proteins that keep your lens clear. Every vitamin E molecule acts like a fire break, stopping the oxidative cascade in its tracks. A single ounce of raw sunflower seeds provides nearly half your daily recommended intake of vitamin E, more than any other commonly consumed seed or nut. The Age-Related Eye Disease Study, one of the most influential clinical trials ever conducted on eye nutrition, found that higher antioxidant vitamin intake was associated with a 25% lower risk of progression to advanced macular degeneration. A separate meta-analysis found that higher vitamin E intake was consistently linked to lower risk of both nuclear and cortical cataracts, the 2 most common forms of age-related lens clouding. What makes sunflower seeds even more powerful is that they also provide selenium, which activates the glutathione peroxidase enzymes that form the lens's second line of antioxidant defense. The lens contains one of the highest concentrations of glutathione of any tissue in the body, and selenium is what makes that glutathione system function. Without adequate selenium, the entire defense mechanism operates at a fraction of its capacity. Vitamin E and selenium from sunflower seeds work in tandem. Vitamin E neutralizes free radicals in the fatty membranes, and selenium-activated glutathione neutralizes the hydrogen peroxide building up in the surrounding fluid. Together, they provide the comprehensive antioxidant coverage the lens needs across both its lipid and water-based compartments. Eat 1 ounce of raw, unsalted sunflower seeds daily. Raw, not roasted, because heat degrades the vitamin E content significantly. Store them in a sealed container somewhere cool to preserve the delicate fatty acids. The third seed is chia seeds. Chia seeds target something that almost nobody talks about when discussing eye health, and that is blood viscosity. The capillaries inside your retina are so narrow that red blood cells have to squeeze through them one at a time in a single file. Any increase in blood thickness, even a relatively small one, significantly reduces the flow through those vessels, which means less oxygen reaching the photoreceptors and less removal of the metabolic waste that accumulates during the constant, intense process of vision. After 60, blood tends to thicken due to changes in proteins, red blood cell behavior, and plasma composition. This disproportionately affects the retinal circulation because those vessels are already working at their absolute minimum. The result is a slow, subtle oxygen deprivation that quietly accelerates photoreceptor degeneration over years and decades. Chia seeds are the second richest plant source of omega-3 fatty acids after flax seeds, providing approximately 5 grams per ounce. Those omega-3s reduce blood viscosity by lowering fibrinogen levels,
making red blood cells more deformable and less sticky, and shifting the body's balance of signaling molecules away from those that promote clotting toward those that promote flow. But chia seeds offer a second, entirely separate benefit that has nothing to do with omega-3s. They contain a remarkable gel-forming soluble fiber that slows the absorption of glucose from every meal you eat alongside them. You do not need to be diabetic for this to matter. After 60, many people experience prolonged blood sugar elevations after eating, even when their fasting glucose looks perfectly normal. Every one of those blood sugar spikes causes glycation, a chemical reaction where sugar molecules attach to proteins and damage them. In the lens, glycation cross-links the crystalline proteins and accelerates cataract formation. In the retinal blood vessels, glycation weakens the vessel walls and creates the microaneurysms that are early signs of retinal damage. In the retinal pigment epithelium, glycation impairs the cleanup mechanisms that prevent toxic debris from accumulating in the macula. Research found that adding chia seeds to a carbohydrate-rich meal reduced the post-meal blood sugar peak by approximately 30%. Across thousands of meals over years and decades, that 30% reduction adds up to a profoundly meaningful reduction in cumulative damage to every glucose-sensitive structure in your eye. 2 tablespoons daily, soaked in water for 10 minutes to activate the gel-forming fiber, or blended directly into a smoothie or yogurt. The fourth seed is pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds are on this list because of the 2 minerals they contain that are most directly connected to glaucoma, the disease that irreversibly blinds more people than almost any other condition on Earth. Those minerals are magnesium and zinc. Magnesium works in the eye in 2 distinct ways. First, it relaxes the smooth muscle in the blood vessels feeding the optic nerve, improving blood flow to that critical structure. This matters enormously because optic nerve damage in glaucoma is not driven solely by elevated eye pressure. It is also driven by inadequate blood flow to the nerve head. A study published in a leading ophthalmology journal found that magnesium improved blood flow to the optic nerve and produced measurable improvements in visual field outcomes in patients with glaucoma occurring despite normal eye pressure. Second, magnesium relaxes the drainage structures of the eye itself, allowing fluid to drain more freely and directly lowering intraocular pressure. Higher dietary magnesium intake has been significantly associated with lower eye pressure in population-based studies of older adults. 1 ounce of pumpkin seeds provides about 37% of your daily magnesium needs, making them one of the most magnesium-dense foods you can eat. Then there is zinc. The retina contains one of the highest concentrations of zinc of any tissue in the human body. Zinc is concentrated in the retinal pigment epithelium, the critical support layer that sits behind the photoreceptors and performs the maintenance work that keeps those cells alive. Zinc is required by the enzyme that regenerates rhodopsin, your low-light visual pigment, after it is bleached by light exposure. When zinc levels fall, this regeneration slows down, and your dark adaptation time increases. What used to take 3 to 5 minutes to adjust to a dark room now takes 10 or 15. That difficulty in dim restaurants, that struggle to see when driving at night, that is often zinc deficiency showing up in the most practical, everyday way. The age-related eye disease study found that zinc supplementation significantly reduced the risk of progression to advanced macular degeneration. Dietary zinc from pumpkin seeds consistently contributes to the zinc status that the retinal pigment epithelium needs to function. 1 ounce of raw pumpkin seeds daily, eaten as a snack or scattered over a salad, provides a steady, meaningful supply of both minerals. The 5th seed is hemp seeds. And hemp seeds complete this protocol by addressing the dimension of eye health that is almost entirely ignored in mainstream discussions: the health of your visual neural pathway. Most people think of vision as something the eye does, but vision is actually something the brain does using data the eye collects. The signals generated by your photoreceptors must travel through millions of synapses in the retinal neural network, down the optic nerve, through relay stations in the thalamus, and finally into the visual cortex at the back of your brain. After 60, this entire neural pathway degrades, independently of the photoreceptors themselves. Synaptic connections weaken. The myelin insulation around the optic nerve fibers deteriorates, slowing signal transmission. The ganglion cells that form the optic nerve fibers die at a rate of roughly 5,000 per year after age 50, and once they are gone, they cannot be replaced. This is why many older adults notice their vision feels worse than their eye exam would suggest. The exam measures photoreceptor function. It cannot measure neural processing speed, contrast sensitivity, or the ability to extract meaningful information from a visually complex scene.
Hemp seeds are one of the richest plant sources of gamma-linolenic acid, which the body converts into a specific anti-inflammatory compound called prostaglandin E1. In the retina and optic nerve, this compound directly calms the microglial cells, the immune cells of the nervous system, that become chronically overactivated with age. When microglia are stuck in their inflammatory state, they release toxic molecules directly adjacent to the ganglion cells, triggering their programmed death. Prostaglandin E1 shifts those microglia from their destructive inflammatory mode into a neuroprotective mode, where they instead clear debris and release factors that support ganglion cell survival. A study published in the Journal of Neuroinflammation demonstrated that this specific shift significantly reduced retinal ganglion cell loss in models of optic nerve damage. Hemp seeds are also a complete protein, providing all 9 essential amino acids, which matters because the neurotransmitters your retinal neural network uses to process and transmit visual signals are synthesized from amino acids. Glutamate, GABA, and dopamine all depend on amino acid precursors that hemp seeds supply in a single food. 3 tablespoons of whole hemp seeds daily, stirred into a smoothie, spooned over a salad, or eaten straight, delivers this neural protection consistently and conveniently. Now, here is how you bring all 5 seeds together into one simple daily habit that requires almost no effort. Take a large jar and combine 1 cup each of ground flax seeds, chia seeds, raw sunflower seeds, raw pumpkin seeds, and whole hemp seeds. Mix them thoroughly, seal the jar, and store it in the refrigerator. Each day, take 3 to 4 tablespoons of this mixture. You can add it to your morning oatmeal, blend it into a smoothie, stir it into yogurt, or sprinkle it over a salad at lunch. The seeds are mild in flavor and blend into virtually any food without overpowering it. For maximum benefit, eat the seed mix alongside foods rich in lutein and zeaxanthin, like spinach, kale, egg yolks, or orange peppers, because the healthy fats in the seeds increase the absorption of those carotenoids by 300 to 500% compared to eating them without fat. Also, pair the mix with a source of vitamin C, because vitamin C regenerates the vitamin E from the sunflower seeds
after it has been used up, effectively allowing each vitamin E molecule to protect the lens multiple times before it is exhausted.
The benefits of this protocol build slowly and compound over time, which is exactly how real protection works. The macular pigment that filters blue light builds up gradually with consistent intake. The antioxidant reserves in the lens are replenished steadily through sustained daily nutrition. The anti-inflammatory effects of omega-3 fatty acids develop over weeks as the fatty acid composition of cell membranes throughout the eye is remodeled from the inside out. This is not a quick fix, and it is not meant to be. It is a daily investment in the biological infrastructure that keeps your eyes functioning clearly for decades.
The people who maintain sharp, clear vision into their 80s and 90s are not simply genetically fortunate. They are nutritionally consistent. Their eyes have been receiving the antioxidants, the omega-3 fatty acids, the minerals, and the anti-inflammatory compounds they need for years. 5 seeds, 5 threats neutralized. Every structure in your eye is shielded by a different mechanism, working together every single day. Forget carrots. This is what your eyes actually need.